Hi there, my name is Megan Harris. I'm the manager of Huma Charity Challenge. It's really great to be here today to launch this incredible opportunity for supporters of the Mark Hughes Foundation, a journey to one of the world's greatest adventure travel destinations, Nepal, and one of the most iconic and recognised treks on the planet, Everest Base Camp. So we're trekking to base camp to support vital brain cancer research, education and patient care, and to help families and carers affected by brain cancer, and of course to be part of a mission to one day find a cure. So Nepal itself is a tiny country. It's approximately 800 kilometres long and about 200 kilometres wide, wedged in between China and India. The Everest Base Camp is an 11-day walk located in the Khumbu region of northeastern Nepal. It's in the heart of the Himalaya. And our walk starts in Lukla at around 2,900 metres and culminates at the summit of Kalapatar at just over 5,500 metres, which is just a little higher than Everest Base Camp. Nepal itself is a destination of immense beauty and diversity. We know it's spectacular. It's home to 8 of the world's 14 8,000-metre peaks, and people have been travelling to Nepal to challenge themselves in the wilderness environment and reach great heights for many, many years. But it's not just the mountains and the scenery that makes Nepal one of the truly great destinations of the world. It has ancient medieval towns. It's steeped in history. There's sacred sites and mystical golden temples to explore. There's a rich melting pot of culture in Nepal, with influences from both Tibet in the north and India to the south. So some of the places that you can go and visit in Nepal, just outside of Kathmandu, is Pashupatinath, which is it's a bit like Varanasi. It's called Pashupatinath. It's a sacred site for Hindus, and it sits on the Bagmati River, and people from Nepal make pilgrimage here, or Hindus from Nepal will, make pilgrimage here to cremate their dead and to, for spiritual blessings and things like that. And for the Tibetans, they make their way to Bodhanath, which is the Buddhist and Tibetan enclave. So even with all these facts about the adventure paradise, if anyone who has been to Nepal, if you ask anyone, who's been to Nepal, what's the best thing about travelling here, most people say the local people. They're strong, they're humble, they're welcoming, and they're incredibly capable local people. The interaction that you'll have in the cities and the trails and in the villages with the local people is really what makes this such a special experience. Particularly the Sherpa women up in the Everest region, they're strong and they're lovely and they're so pleased to have you, so welcoming. So you'll experience Nepal alongside fellow supporters and friends, and you'll share this unforgettable adventure together. For many, this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Nepal isn't a typical holiday destination, and many people never get the chance to visit. So to do so with a shared purpose makes it really special, and for many people, genuinely life-changing. So the trip begins in Kathmandu, Nepal's vibrant capital. It's at about 1,300 metres in elevation, and you'll experience immediately the rich culture and the energy of one of the world's most fascinating cities. So when you arrive in Kathmandu airport, you'll be met and transferred to the Radisson Hotel, which is about a 10-minute walk or a short rickshaw ride to Tamil, which is the main shopping and tourist area. This evening, we'll meet the guides in the hotel lobby for a pre-trek briefing, and they'll distribute all the gear before we head out to dinner for our first night. So the quality gear that's provided by our crew over there includes a really good down jacket, a down sleeping bag, an inner sheet, and they'll also give you a buff and a World Expeditions kit bag, which you can keep. So in Kathmandu, there's only one runway, so to alleviate the congestion during the trekking season, we often need to drive east to a small airstrip called Ramachap to fly to Lukla. We'd obviously prefer that you have time to explore Kathmandu, and we'll do absolutely everything that we can to make sure that you do get on that direct flight to Lukla, because there's very few in the day, but we can't guarantee it at this point, but we should know a little bit nearer the time what we can do. And as I say, we'll make every effort to get you on the direct flight there and back, weather permitting. So on arrival in Lukla, this is Lukla, you'll meet your trekking crew, your porters, your cook staff, your Sherpas and everybody. You'll meet the team and you'll head directly into the mountains. So our trek begins through these traditional villages that are connected by ancient pilgrimage trails and historic trade routes where locals have literally been walking and trading goods, particularly in and out of Tibet, for centuries. Reflecting the history of the ancient Chortens and prayer flag draped stupas. They're very quintessential to the heartland of quintessential to the Sherpa heartland of the Himalaya. And the spinning of prayer wheels, which you'll be have a lot of experience at when you're up in this area, is believed to release prayers and blessings with each turn. So the trail itself just follows the mountain sides, and the valleys are just kilometres deep. Mountain tops to these thundering rivers below is really the typical terrain. It's very, very dramatic and very beautiful, and this is why so many people come to this part of Nepal. So on trek, you'll spend 6 nights in our comfortable and exclusive campsites. They have standing height tents, off-the-ground beds, clean mattresses and pillows. And at the campsites, you'll have composting or flushing Western-style sit-down toilets, hand basins, and a beautiful big windowed dining room with eco-friendly heating. The nights in our private campsites will be complemented by a couple of nights actually in our hand-picked eco lodges that align with our responsible tourism practices. These lodges use a mix of cow, yak dung, and solar generators for power. We try and have as little impact on this really fragile environment as we possibly can. All meals are included. They're fresh, they're varied, and we can adapt to any diet again so long as we have some prior notice. And all the food is hygienically prepared by our private cook and cook staff. Much of the vegetables that you eat during the day come directly from the community gardens that are attached to the camps. So the food is very, very fresh and wholesome. And you're accompanied by our experienced guides and Sherpa staff who are all bilingual and medically trained. You'll have full Sherpa support, satellite communications, and a wilderness first aid kit, including a portable altitude chamber. Importantly, I think it's really good to know that our leaders are empowered to act quickly and decisively if conditions change or contingencies arrive. So you can be completely reassured that you're in the very, very best of hands in these mountain environment. In accordance with our porter welfare policy and responsible travel guidelines, World Expeditions provides porters with fair wages and income protection, all meals, accommodation, high altitude gear, safety support, including first aid, insurance and emergency evacuation. We enforce weight and age guidelines and promote ethical standards through education, welfare and rights awareness. So the trek is graded moderate based on our comparable challenging expeditions and mountaineering trips. For the novice trekker, I would suggest you expect more like moderate to challenging, especially as we've shortened the trek by 2 days to fit in with this 2-week travel time frame. You can expect to be walking between 4 and 8 hours a day at altitude, covering approximately 130 kilometres on the return trek over the 11 days. So, this may not seem long, but with the altitude and almost no flat terrain, in fact, there's hours of steep stone stairways like this one in the photo, and the need for acclimatisation significantly increases the challenge. So the high point of Kalapatar, which is just over 5,500 metres, is just below the height of Kilimanjaro, and that's a decent challenge in itself. So this photo just shows the very typical trails that you'll be following for most of the trek. So in preparation, as always, the fitter you are, the more you're going to enjoy it. So we'd recommend strong cardio fitness, which is essential for a trek like this. So focus on activities that raise your heart rate and keep it elevated, like bushwalking, running, cycling, swimming, dancing, rowing, whatever it is. Something that you enjoy, but do it as often as you can. I'd suggest that you start training at least 3 months before you travel, ideally 6, and aim for a minimum of 30 minutes 3 to 4 times a week. and work towards 45 to 60 minutes a session, 4 to 5 times a week. So also, if you can manage some bushwalks where you're walking for consecutive days, that'd be really helpful. But look, I know everybody has very busy lives, so look, just do as much preparation as is feasible, but try and make the effort to do as much as you can in preparation for this trek. And then once you get to the mountains, just take your time and breathe it in and just enjoy every moment of it at your own pace. So the trail winds through many villages. There's where tea breaks often turn into a little retail therapy, and it's always good to support the local communities with their handmade wares. And there's often some really beautiful stuff that you can buy up in the mountains. So make sure you take plenty of rupees. You'll cross many of these iconic Himalayan suspension bridges, and sharing the trails with yak and pony trains. They carry supplies up and down the mountain, which is a really unique Nepalese experience. So yaks really are the lifeline of the Himalaya. They're beautiful, they're sturdy, sure-footed, and they're perfectly adapted to this high altitude. They're your constant companions on the trails to Everest, carrying the supplies. And again, very quintessential to the Himalayan experience. So as you climb higher towards Everest Base Camp, the landscape becomes much more barren and dramatic and very rocky and kind of windswept, replacing the forest and the towering peaks and glaciers. The forest that you've already walked through, but now you get up into this high area and it's just these really massive peaks. You're very close to them with the glaciers, and they just dominate the whole horizon. So this shot, actually, the Everest Base Camp and Mount Everest is just out of the shot to the right. In the foreground, the blue-roofed lodges of Gorik Shep is the last settlement before Everest Base Camp. It sits around 5,200 metres, and this is your base to go off to Everest Base Camp and also up to Kalapatar. So the prominent snow-covered peak in the centre is Pamori, and that's just over 7,000 metres. It's quite an iconic mountain in the Khumbu region. So you can see in the foreground, or just beyond the Gorik Shep, you'll see that dark brown little kind of mountain in front of Pamori. That's actually Kalapatar, and from Kalapatar you just get stunning views across at Everest and the Khumbu Glacier, and also Lhotse and Nuptse. So we basically walk from Lobajé to Gorik Shep. It takes about 3.5 hours, 3 to 4 hours. We'll have lunch, and then in the afternoon we do a side trip down to base camp, and then the following day we walk up to Kalapatar, and then that night return back down to Dingbajé to the camp for overnight. So for a couple of nights when we're right up the top, we'll stay in these simple mountain lodges. They're clean, they're very basic, but they're warm and comfortable. So for gear, again, like most treks, the layering system works. You can expect temperatures. Temperatures up at this time of the year can drop to -10, and during the day you could be walking in temperatures around 20 degrees. So there's a huge extremes in temperature. So it's really important that you take the right gear. Our pre-departure information is very detailed, listing all the things that we'd recommend that you take. Certainly, please read through it. If you've got any questions about gear, just give us a call. As I say, we provide the down jacket. You also need, I would take about 3 sets of thermal underwear, really good quality socks. I'd take 3 or 4 pairs of good socks. Plus, you can buy these really fantastic little kind of Ugg boots from Anaconda, which are only about $15, and they're a lifesaver up in these high altitude areas when you're getting out of your tent at night or in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or whatever. But yeah, thermal underwear, beanie, gloves, scarves, all the usual get up for cold temperatures, but also breathable t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and protection from sun as well. So appropriate gear is really, really fundamental, and all these gear shops like Macpac, Paddy Pallin, Patagonia, Anaconda and things. They stock all the appropriate trekking gear for an Everest Base Camp trek, and the staff are a great resource for information. They're all trekkers, they're all hikers. Most of them are probably climbers as well, so they're very experienced and they're really great with advice. So as far as the gear goes, just good t-shirts and long sleeve shirts, fleece, a good Gore-Tex jacket, and take your own puffer jacket or just use the one that we provide. I generally take my lighter puffer jacket and also use the World Expeditions big puffer jacket. So you need some comfortable pants. You need a couple of pairs of walking pants, interchangeable, good hat, scarf, good polarized sunglasses. Walking poles are really great in this environment. And also, if you've got walking poles, fingerless gloves are also a good thing to avoid the sunburn. So also, we'd recommend that you take. Oh, you also need obviously drinking bottle, bladder. You'll need to have capacity for about 3 litres of water a day. So I generally have a bladder which holds about 2 litres, and plus I'll have a bottle that carries about 1.5 litres. And it's a good idea to have a good Nalgene or a bottle that can take boiling water, because at night they'll fill your bottle up with boiling water, and that's also a really good hot water bottle to take to bed at night and keep you warm. So as far as the day pack goes, so all your gear is carried by the porters, all your main gear, which is carried from camp to camp. You just carry during the day what you need during the day in your pack. So we would suggest a 30 to 35 litre day pack, and you need one that's really comfortable, well supported, sits on your hips, and can hold. You'll need to be able to fit in your puffer jacket, your Gore-Tex jacket, your beanie, scarf. Probably I always take a set of thermals with me, your head torch, all that sort of stuff. So just anything that you need to access during the day. Boots are a really essential item, of course, as well. So you want really well-fitted, supported, high-ankle trekking boots, which are really good for these rocky, uneven trails. So ankle support and grip and breathability are all really essential parts to choosing a good hiking boot. If you don't have any boots, and you're trying them on, they should feel perfect when you put them on. Gone are the days where you have to wear boots in. They should feel really comfortable as soon as you put them on. There's so many good brands out there, and we've all got different feet, so it's a matter of going and trying them. Recently, I bought my daughter some La Sportiva, which were just the most comfortable boots I think I've ever put on. But also the Keens are really good, Merrell, Solomon, all those brands. So just try them on and see what suits. But also it's a good idea to have a backup pair of runners or something like Hoka's trail shoes, something like that. And they might be also suitable for the lower altitudes, but you'll probably find for the whole trek you'll be wearing your boots. And the other important thing, of course, is socks. So you want breathable socks, good quality socks, and I would take at least 3 or 4 pairs. So just a little bit about the travel. Kristen from the travel space will be handling all your flight arrangements and will ensure that you have all the relevant document and correct documentation for travel to Nepal. Just make sure that your passport is valid for 6 months from the return date. If not, they won't let you on the flight. So that's really important. As far as staying connected in Nepal, the easiest thing to do actually is when you arrive in Kathmandu, just pick up a local Nepal SIM. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Otherwise, you can rely on global roaming. Obviously, it's convenient, but can be more expensive. And so just check with your provider and see what their international roaming rates are and their plans are. There's usually between about $5 and $10 a day. eSIM is a great alternative as well, actually. So you can purchase an international data eSIM before you go. That's easy to activate on arrival, and you don't need a physical SIM swap. So they're available through a bunch of different apps. Holofly and Eralo and others. As I say, the local Nepal SIM is cheapest alternative and really easy to get when you arrive into Kathmandu. And hotel Wi-Fi coverage is a little bit spotty the higher you go, especially above Namche. So when you're headed up to, even regardless of your local SIM, you're not going to get great Wi-Fi. Surely down the bottom you will, but not so much once you get into the high areas. But the hotels do have SIMs, so you might be a little bit out of range for a little bit, but that doesn't hurt anybody. But as I say, the guides all carry sat phones, so if there's any emergency, they can deal with that if necessary. So just to finish, so now more than ever, I think people are seeking meaningful adventures and opportunities to unplug, challenge themselves, be part of something bigger. This a charity challenge like this really allows you to step outside your comfort zone. You'll be travelling with like-minded people and make real impact by supporting this brain cancer research. Along the journey, the group really becomes a team. You'll support one another through physical and mental challenge. You'll celebrate, milestones together, and you'll really build some powerful connections along the way. These shared experiences often create bonds that last well after the trek is over. So with the group united by purpose and challenge, and of course achievement, getting to Everest Base Camp, it's a big thing. So if this experience feels right for you, come on board. We would absolutely love you to come, regardless of who else is going. If you don't know anyone, just join up. It's a great trek, and time and time again we see how journeys like this become transformative. They really help people to grow in many ways. Self-confidence, resilience, and perspective. It's look. The walk is not easy. It's not meant to be. So by pushing through some of those tough moments is really where you find growth happens, and where the greatest impact is made. So yes, so both, personally and for the lives that you're fundraising will help change. So it's going to be a very special trek. I really hope you can join us. And look, thanks so much for your time. I hope, you found this informative, but as always, we are here at the end of the phone. Please don't hesitate to ring me. I've spent a lot of time in Nepal and would love to talk to you about any aspect of the trip, whether it's training, whether it's gear, whether it's cultural. We're here to talk. Kristen is, of course, the guru with all things travel. She can help you with your airfares and any additional arrangements, travel insurance, all that sort of stuff. And of course, Sharon's always there as the expert on the fundraising and, to support you. So anyway, thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.